Hello, back again on the Top Recap channel. This time I will tell a movie's entitled Hunter's Prayer. Let's get straight into the storyline. The film begins with a rich man named Hatto who is relaxing in a fancy house with his young wife. Suddenly, their dog starts barking nonstop, making them feel uneasy. At that time, Hatto's wife, annoyed by the noise, tells the servant to take the dog outside. But when the servant does, she is suddenly attacked and killed by someone who was secretly targeting Hatto. After killing the servant, the mysterious person named Daniel goes inside and also kills Hatto and his wife. Daniel is a feared assassin in Europe, and Hatto was his main target. To cover his tracks, Daniel sets Hatto's house on fire and quickly leaves the scene. The scene then moves to a top school in Switzerland, where we meet Hatto's only child, Ella. At this point, Ella has no idea that her father has been murdered. In another part of the story, a hitman named Lucas is hired to kill Ella. But before he does, Lucas decides to check on who Ella really is. That evening, a dormitory staff member is looking for Ella to tell her that Hatto has passed away. However, Ella's roommate lies and says that Ella is still in the library, even though Ella is actually hiding behind the door. The dormitory staff asks her friend to tell Ella to come to him once she gets back from the library. But Ella has other plans. She has arranged to meet her boyfriend at a nightclub that night, so she quietly climbs out of the window to go on her date. Meanwhile, Lucas is already keeping an eye on Ella and follows her to the nightclub. At the club, Ella meets her boyfriend and they go inside to have some fun. Lucas keeps watching her, waiting for the right moment to carry out his mission. But when he sees Ella's face up close, he is reminded of his own daughter, who looks a lot like her. Because of this, Lucas, who had originally planned to kill Ella, now feels the need to protect her. Soon another hitman appears, aiming to shoot Ella, but Lucas acts quickly and shoots the hitman first. Then a shootout ensues, because it turns out that Ella is part of a deadly competition with a prize of $1 million. Fortunately, Lucas manages to get Ella and her boyfriend out of the club and into a car to escape. However, other assassins continue to chase them. At one point, Lucas causes one of the chasing cars to crash. He gets out of the car to deal with the assassins. But while he is distracted, Ella and her boyfriend run away. Not long after, Lucas finds Ella and drove up to her. He tells Ella that assassins are after her, and that if she wants to survive, she has to come with him right away. However, Ella's boyfriend doesn't trust Lucas and tries to convince her not to go with him. After thinking it over, Ella finally decides to go with Lucas. As they are driving, Ella asks if everything happening is connected to her father. Lucas doesn't say anything at first, staying silent. Ella then wonders why they can't just go to the police for help. Lucas finally replies, explaining that 80% of the authorities in the country are controlled by the people who want her dead.
My name is Lucas.
The next morning, still in the car, they decide to stop in a parking lot. Before they arrive, Lucas tells Ella to duck down so the officers won't see her. While hiding, Ella notices that Lucas has a syringe, suggesting he is using illegal drugs. When they get to the parking lot, Lucas plans to switch their car with another one parked there. He explains that they need to leave the country as soon as possible, using a border route only a few hours away.
They're gonna kill you.
To avoid being spotted, Lucas tells Ella to hide in the back seat. As they continue driving, Ella admits that she really hated her new stepfather and stepmother. She knew that her father had been involved in illegal drug trafficking across Europe which led to her biological mother's death. Now Ella feels her own life is in danger because of her father's actions. She then asks Lucas if he is really an addict, and Lucas admits that he is. Ella also wants to know who he really is, but Lucas tells her to stay quiet because the police are checking cars ahead of them. After they pass the police checks safely, Lucas finally opens up. He shares that he used to be an army sergeant. He lost all his friends during a battle, which made him very depressed. This led to his addiction and caused problems in his personal life. The scene then shifts to England, where we meet a man named Richard. Richard is watching his son practice archery because he wants his son to grow up tough and ruthless. It is known that Richard is the one who hired Hitman, including Lucas, to kill Ella's family. This is because Ella's father, who was once Richard's business partner, planned to report all of his crimes to the FBI. Soon after, a corrupt FBI agent named Gina arrives. It turns out Gina has been secretly working with Richard and comes to inform him that Haddo and his young wife have been successfully killed. However, Gina also reports that one of the hitmen, Lucas, betrayed Richard by taking Ella away, and now no one knows where they are. Gina also mentions that before Haddo died, he managed to steal all of Richard's money. This makes Richard furious, and he orders Gina to find and kill both Ella and Lucas, and to recover the stolen money.
Find the girl, find Lucas, and get me my fucking money.
After his meeting with Gina, Richard goes to a warehouse at the back of his property. There, he has a civilian put into a cage to train his vicious dog. The civilian is dressed in protective gear, but the dog still manages to attack and kill him, which makes Richard very pleased. Meanwhile, 2 hours later, Lucas and Ella arrived in France. They stop at an empty house that once belonged to Lucas's best friend, who died in battle. Inside, he decides to call Richard. When Richard answers, Lucas asks why Richard wants to kill Ella, considering it was her father who planned to expose Richard to the FBI. Richard coldly explains that killing Ella is a warning to his other business partners not to betray him. Richard then tries to convince Lucas to kill Ella, promising a big reward. But if Lucas refuses, Richard threatens to target his family, especially his daughter. Now Lucas is torn between saving Ella or protecting his own family. After that, Lucas takes Ella out of the car's trunk and brings her into the house. Once inside, Ella asks to use the bathroom, and while there she notices a cell phone lying around. Curious, she tries calling her father's number, but instead of her dad, Gina, the corrupt FBI agent, answers. Gina tells Ella that Lucas was actually a hitman sent to kill her. Gina says that if Ella wants to stay safe, she needs to send her current location right away.
Very carefully. He's a professional assassin. We believe he's been hired to kill you.
After sending the location, Ella comes out of the bathroom and nervously asks Lucas if he really intends to kill her. Lucas admits that he was supposed to, but he couldn't go through with it because she reminded him of his own daughter. Scared, Ella runs away trying to escape. Not long after, Lucas chases after her in his car and tries to convince Ella that he wouldn't harm her.
Do anything to you.
He explains that even though he was hired to kill her, he couldn't do it because she reminded him of his daughter. Lucas also breaks the news that her father is dead, which shocks Ella.
I need to call my dad.
Your father's dead.
Even though Ella has always had a complicated relationship with her father, deep down she still loved him. While Lucas and Ella are taking a break to eat and drink, they are suddenly shot at by 2 of Richard's men. They quickly try to escape by running into the house. Soon after, Lucas ends up fighting one of the men while Ella tries to sneak out through the back. However, when she gets outside, another one of Richard's men is waiting for her with a gun. Just as Ella is about to be killed, Lucas appears and saves her, urging her to run away with him. As they drive away, Lucas tells Ella to take the wheel while he treats a gunshot wound on his thigh from earlier. But Ella, still shaken up, isn't paying attention and crashes the car into a barrier.
Sorry.
Because of this, they have to continue their journey on foot. Finally, Lucas and Ella make it to a train station, planning to leave the country. Shortly after, Lucas calls his best friend to meet them at the next train stop. While they are waiting, a police officer approaches Lucas, wanting to check his identity. Luckily, Lucas has prepared fake documents, so the officer doesn't suspect anything and lets them go. While on the train, Lucas's friend, named Susan, arrives. At that time, Lucas has asked her to meet him there because he needs help, and Susan, who is also an assassin and has been friends with him for a long time, is asked to treat his injuries. While she is treating Lucas, Susan tells Ella to go to the next train carriage for a moment. As Ella waits, she starts to remember moments from her past with her father, who is now gone. After finishing with Lucas, Susan wants to talk to Ella.
How's he doing?
She warns Ella that Lucas is unpredictable and could be dangerous because of his addiction and changing mood. Susan suggests that if Ella wants to stay safe, she should get off at the next train stop and run as far away as possible.
Truth about Lucas. Whatever that was good inside him died a long time ago.
After giving this advice, Susan returns to Lucas. Just as the train is about to stop, Susan tries to distract Lucas so he won't go looking for Ella, even tempting him with some drugs. But Lucas realizes that Susan is trying to trick him and forces her to tell him where Ella is. Susan finally confesses that Ella has just gotten off the train and admits she has been paid by Richard's men to keep Lucas away from Ella.
Addison, he's put a brace on your head.
After knowing that, Lucas immediately rushes to find Ella. Meanwhile, outside the train, Ella is approached by Daniel, the man who killed her father at the beginning of the story. Just as Daniel is about to capture Ella, Lucas appears, and a gunfight breaks out between Lucas and Daniel. During the chaos, Lucas manages to grab Ella and escape from Daniel's pursuit. Afterward, they decide to head to England by ship. During the journey, Ella asks Lucas if he would ever try to kill her. At that time, Lucas doesn't want to answer and instead focuses on teaching Ella how to use weapons. But when Ella keeps pressing him with questions, Lucas points her gun at his own chest and tells her that if she can't trust him, she can shoot him right then. In the end, Ella decides to trust Lucas. After arriving in England, Lucas took Ella to an old empty house that he owned but hadn't visited in a long time. While they were there, she asked Lucas who was behind the plot to kill her family. Lucas explained that the person responsible was a man named Richard, who was an international criminal pretending to run an investment company. Curious to learn more, Ella used a computer in the house to find out about Richard. Then she discovered his company's name and address, which happened to be in England. Soon after, Ella went to check on Lucas, who was struggling with withdrawal symptoms as he tried to overcome his addiction. She asked Lucas to take down Richard in exchange for double the reward, since she was now the sole heir to her father's wealth.
He killed my father.
But because Lucas was feeling so sick from withdrawal, he didn't respond and just ignored Ella. Determined to take matters into her own hands, Ella grabbed a gun and decided to go to Richard's office, which was nearby. Even though Lucas, who was barely conscious, told her not to go, Ella was so sure and chose to leave to confront Richard herself. Moments later, Ella arrived at Richard's office, determined to confront him. She approached the receptionist and asked her to call Richard, saying she wanted to turn herself in.
Ella Hatter here in reception for Mr. Edison.
Waiting for you at reception.
Shortly after, Richard appeared, and Ella quickly pointed a gun at him.
Full security! Keep back!
However, she hesitated and couldn't bring herself to pull the trigger. Instead, Ella panicked and ran out of the building. But as soon as she stepped outside, the city police were waiting for her, and she was arrested and taken to the police station. Meanwhile, Gina, the corrupt FBI agent, called Richard to inform him that all the money Ella's father had stolen was stored in a Swiss bank account under Ella's name. This meant that they needed Ella's consent to access the money. Realizing this, Richard told Gina to go to the police station and get Ella released immediately so they could take the money. That evening, Ella was released from the police station. At that time, Gina was already there, pretending that she was going to take Ella to the airport so she could safely return to America. But behind the scenes, Lucas, who had recovered from his withdrawal, was searching for Ella. There, Lucas spotted Richard's men on a security camera sneaking into the area, so he quickly took action and stopped them. Lucas initially tried to send a message to Richard through one of the men, asking him to leave Ella alone. But when the man resisted, Lucas had no choice but to eliminate him. At the same time, Susan suddenly appeared, pointing a gun at Lucas. He tried to convince Susan to leave, reminding her that they were once friends. But Susan revealed that she had been hired to kill Lucas because Richard had put a high price on his head. In the end, Lucas had to act first and ended up killing her. Meanwhile, Gina took Ella to a warehouse where Daniel was waiting to take care of Ella. At that moment, Richard contacted Lucas, taunting him by saying that he was now powerless and should disappear because Ella was in Richard's hands.
You and I are done. You no longer exist.
A few hours later, Gina and Daniel took Ella to Richard's house.
We're downstairs with the girl.
They planned to keep Ella locked up in Richard's basement until she revealed the details of her Swiss bank account. That same night, Richard was hosting a big party with some important officials. But while the party was going on, Lucas had already sneaked in. When Richard realized Lucas was there, he panicked and rushed to a room to grab a weapon. But Lucas was already there, pointing a gun at him. Knowing how skilled Lucas was, Richard begged him not to kill him and even offered to pay Lucas whatever he wanted. At that time, Lucas only wanted to know where Ella was. Shortly after, Richard told him that Ella was still alive and being held in the basement with Gina and Daniel. Lucas then forced Richard to lead him to the basement. When they arrived, Richard warned Gina and Daniel not to mess up.
Okay.
But at that moment, Richard's son suddenly arrived and shot an arrow at Lucas, starting a shootout. The sound of gunfire made all the guests at the party panic and rush outside. During the chaos, Lucas managed to kill Gina. Meanwhile, Ella tried to escape by running down a hallway, but Daniel caught up to her and shot her in the shoulder, making it hard for her to continue. Just when things seemed hopeless, Lucas arrived, and a fierce fight broke out between him and Daniel. At one point, Daniel had the upper hand and was about to defeat Lucas. But suddenly Richard appeared and shot Daniel. It turned out Richard had planned to kill both Lucas and Daniel all along. Richard then aimed to shoot Lucas, but before he could, Ella managed to shoot him first, saving Lucas. After all the chaos, Lucas quickly took Ella outside to get medical help for her injured shoulder.
Ella, stay with me. Ella.
A few months later, Lucas got a call from Ella, who had returned to America. Ella was now living with her uncle's family and seemed really happy. She asked Lucas how he was doing, and he told her he was doing fine. Ella then shared that she had transferred $10 million to Lucas's account as a thank you gift. She also told him that if he ever needed anything, she would be there to help. After this, Lucas felt brave enough to finally reunite with his wife and children. Now that he had overcome his drug addiction, His family was ready to welcome him back,